You think you're being nice, but you're actually people pleasing. And there's a huge difference between being a people pleaser or just being a nice person. So when you're being nice, it comes from authentic kindness. It feels good in your body. It feels energizing. It feels aligned. And you only say yes when you genuinely feel like saying yes. And you can say no without feeling guilt. And the most important part, you set clear boundaries. If it feels like no, you can say no without feeling guilty. But when you're people pleasing, it comes from fear of rejection. It comes from feeling guilty, and it comes from needing external validation. You guilt because you feel that you have to, and you set others' needs above your own, even though it makes you feeling resentful, anxious, and it's draining. So you're not able to say no without feeling guilty. So you keep saying yes, even though your body is screaming no. This video is all about how to stop people pleasing and how to start setting healthy, clear boundaries. And I'm giving you really clear examples of how to set boundaries in different relationships in your life. So these are the chapters that we're going to talk about today. Let's dive into chapter 1. Are you a people pleaser? So how do you know if you're a people pleaser or you're just being a nice person? So I'll give you 7 signs that you are not just being nice, but you're actually a people pleaser. The first one, you constantly seek external validation. So you're always looking for reassurance or approval outside of yourself to feel good about you. So your self-worth is tied to other people's reaction and action towards you. The second one, you struggle to say no. Even when you feel overwhelmed, you feel tired or drained, you just say yes. You say yes to avoid feeling guilty or feeling a conflict or hurting someone else's feeling and disappointing them. The third sign that you are a people pleaser and not just a nice person is you avoid conflict at all costs. So you would rather suppress your own truth, your own opinions, your own feelings, than risk someone being upset with you or having a conflict with someone. So you're actually prioritizing the peace outside of yourself than peace within you. And every time you do that, you're losing a piece of yourself. You're losing trust in yourself, and you're training your nervous system not to trust yourself. Sign number 4, you feel responsible for other people's emotions. And that is a big one. If someone is upset, you immediately think that it's your fault or that it's your job to fix it, which is completely not true. It is not your job to please everyone. It is okay for others to feel upset, and it is not your job to fix it. Your job is to take care of your feelings and fix how you feel. Number 5, you shapeshift to be liked. You're always adjusting your personalities, your opinions, or your preferences depending on who you're with. So you're losing yourself. You don't have your own personality. You're always adjusting your personality to accommodate to others. And you do that because you want to feel approved and accepted. And it comes from a fear of rejection. Number 6, you feel guilty about setting yourself first. Taking time off, resting, setting boundaries, anything like that makes you feel super selfish, and you feel so guilty, like you're doing something wrong. And you feel like you're being too much for other people. And the last number 7 sign that I'm giving you today, you really often feel resentful, burnout, and drained. And that's because you're constantly overgiving, you're overcommitting yourself, you're never taking time for yourself, you never take time to fill your own cup while you're hoping that others will notice your needs and give back, but that probably never happens. So people pleasing might look like you're being super helpful, super easygoing, or agreeable, but under the surface, it comes with a lot of anxiety, exhaustion, and resentfulness, and really disconnecting from your own self. So let's dive into 5 ways that you can stop people pleasing and overcome it. First and most important thing is get really, really honest with yourself. First of all, I want you to be honest. Did you recognize yourself from any of the signs that I gave you? Second, start asking yourself every time you say yes to something, why are you saying yes? Are you saying yes because you truly want to? Are you saying yes because of fear? And how does that yes feel in your body? Really get curious about your own pattern, because awareness is always the first step to any transformation. So the second step is to start reconnect with your own needs and your own desires. As a people pleaser, you're often so focused on other people's needs and desires that you completely forget about yourself. So start small. Start setting one area a week where you're not going to make compromises. You're going to prioritize your own needs. It can be time. This week, you're gonna take time for yourself. So let's say if your friend is gonna ask you to go out after a really long day at work, you're gonna prioritize yourself. You're gonna politely decline and take this time to fill your own cup. Number 3, practice tolerating discomfort. And what I mean by that, start saying no. And it might feel like you're disappointing others or that you're being misunderstood by them. And it might make you feel really uncomfortable in your body. But this is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. This is a sign that you're actually healing. And by practicing it, you're actually teaching your nervous system and building your nervous system's capacity to hold a bigger level of discomfort. Number 4, stop apologizing for your existence. You do not need to justify when you're saying no or your feelings, your needs. Really start noticing how often do you say sorry? How often you start your conversations with sorry, I just, or I hope it's okay, but stop over-explaining yourself. Your presence is enough. And number 5, learn to set boundaries. And this is what the next part of this video is going to be. We're going to dive deep, everything about boundaries. So I'm going to take one real life situation that probably all of us have been in and give you an example how a people pleaser would react in this situation and how a nice person with healthy boundaries would act in this situation. So let's take these 2 characters. We have Jane, who has been a people pleaser all her life, and she always sets other people's needs above her own, even though it leaves her feeling drained and burned out. And here we have Jeanette, who is a really nice person, but she has really strong self-confidence and she sets healthy and strong boundaries in every situation and every relationship that she has. Let's start with Jane. Jane is going home after a long day work. She just arrived home and she cannot wait to get into a bath and read her favorite book. And she just got a text message from her friend saying, I really need your help. Can you please come over and babysit my dog? I need to go to a hairdresser. I just got an appointment last minute. And Jane, she drops everything, even though she's so tired and she was waiting for the bubble bath. So she sends a text message, of course, I'll be there in 15 minutes. And her internal dialogue might be, she's gonna be so upset if I say no. She really needs my help. And maybe she's not gonna be my friend if I don't help her. And later that night, she's gonna feel really resentful. She's gonna feel even more exhausted. And she's gonna feel shame for betraying herself again and setting others' needs above her own. And now we have Jeanette. Exactly the same situation. She just arrived home. She cannot wait to get into a bubble bath and she gets the same text message. And what Jeanette does, she checks in with her energy. She feels in her body and she feels her body saying no because she's exhausted. She's been waiting forward to that bubble bath her all day and she knows that she has to say no lovingly and without feeling guilty. So she might text something saying like, hey love, I'm actually wiped out today. I need some rest. So I won't be able to help you out. I hope it goes all well. Let's catch up soon. And her inner dialogue is something like, my energy matters. Saying no to others is saying yes to myself. A real friend will understand. And if she doesn't, it says more about her and our relationship. And later that night, she feels peace. She feels aligned. She feels refreshed. And she feels really happy for showing up for herself. And her self-confidence grows. And it's important to understand that boundaries don't push people away. They teach people how to treat you and how to ultimately love you. Now that you've seen the difference between people pleasing and being a nice person, let's talk about how do you actually know where you need to set boundaries. Did you know that we actually have 7 different types of boundaries. So we have physical boundaries. Second, sexual boundaries. Number 3, emotional boundaries. Number 4, spiritual boundaries. Number 5 is financial boundaries. Number 6, boundaries with your time. And the last one, number 7, non-negotiable boundaries. To start setting boundaries, you actually need to start getting to know yourself. Because if you don't know what you like and what you don't like, how are you going to be able to set the boundaries? And you can start getting to know yourself by creating lists. You can create a list of things that make you feel good and create a list of things that make you feel bad. So this is your roadmap to your well-being and ultimately to setting boundaries, and not only with other people, but also with yourself. So secondly, you can also start asking questions to yourself to find out where you need to set boundaries. So questions you can ask: whose needs am I setting above my own? And a really good exercise is also to reflect on how do you feel after each encounter with people in your life. Do you feel drained? Do you feel uplifted? Do you feel happy? Do you feel resentful? These are all really good signs how your relationships are. And once you know that, you can start going deeper about what actually is making you feeling drained or resentful or unhappy in these relationships. You can also reflect on those relationships. What triggers you when you spend time with that person? Like, is it someone always being late, or is it someone always trauma dumping on you? So really start reflecting on your relationships, and I recommend you to write it out. Each person in your life, how do they make you feel? How you feel after you spend time with this person? This is a really good indicator where you need to start setting healthy boundaries in your life. So now that you've done that, you know where to start setting boundaries. Now comes the communication part. How to communicate your boundaries. And the biggest tip that I can give you, don't try to anticipate other people's reactions and feelings. This is the people pleaser in you. Stop. It is not your job to please everyone else. It is okay for others to be upset, and it is not your job to fix how other people feel. It is not the end of the world. It is not that serious, babe. Just move on. Number 2, don't get emotional. Don't get angry. Don't start accusing or getting upset about what you're talking about. Just be really clear and open with what are you communicating. That brings me to number 3, be really assertive and don't budge. You don't have to over-explain why you're setting the boundary. You don't have to give them the reason for them to see if your reasoning is good enough for them to accept your boundary or not. Also, don't apologize. You don't have to apologize for having needs and expecting other people to respect them. Number 4, really hold people accountable. And I know it might be hard, especially if you haven't been setting boundaries, but you have to hold people accountable. Otherwise, what is the point of setting the boundaries in the first place? If someone is overstepping your boundary, you have to communicate it and you have to hold them accountable. And number 5, really be open and listen and be respectful when they are communicating and responding to your boundary setting. Again, you don't have to budge, you don't have to over-explain, but really be open and be respectful when they're communicating with you. And the biggest key to staying consistent with holding boundaries and setting boundaries is upholding the boundaries with yourself. The boundaries with yourself is the easiest to overstep, especially with excuses like,
I'm angry, I'm gonna do it tomorrow, or I'm gonna do it a little bit later.
But they are the most important ones. This is how you create self-love. This is how you create self-trust, self-confidence. And every time you overstep your own boundary, you are teaching your nervous system not to trust yourself. And to stop doing that, we need to create really clear boundaries with ourselves. And the best way to do it is to start by creating your goals. Who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? How do you want to show up? How does she act, speak, think, feel? And what does she tolerate and what does she not tolerate anymore? And when you have that vision, now you can reverse engineer your boundaries. You can look at this roadmap and see what behaviors do you need to say yes to, and also what behaviors do you need to say no to in order to become that future you that you just created. And this will become your self-boundary list. Now that you establish self-boundaries, let's move on to example of boundaries in most important relationships in our lives. I'm gonna give you examples of 4 boundaries that I got asked on my Instagram. So if you're not following me there, then follow. So the first example of boundary is in a romantic relationship. So the scenario is that you start to feel anxious when your partner doesn't reply to you quickly or isn't available to chat, and you tend to bottle it up or over apologize when you express your needs. And here's a healthy way how to set this boundary. Babe, I've noticed that sometimes I feel anxious when I don't hear from you for a while. And I realize that it comes from my own fear of disconnection, and I'm not asking for you to be 24/7 on your phone. And I really want to work on this within myself, but could you please check in with me and just send me a quick message that you're gonna be unavailable for a while? That helps me to feel more grounded while I build trust. Why this works? This response, it owns your own feelings, avoids blame, and makes a clear and a reasonable request while staying rooted in self-responsibility and connection. The second is in friendships, and it's about respecting time and energy. So the scenario is that your friend often calls to vent for an hour or more without asking if you have space or energy for it. And it is really draining for you, and it creates a lot of resentment. So here's an example what you could say. Hey babe, I care about you and I really want to support you, but I've noticed that I feel really drained about these long venting calls, especially when they're unexpected. From now on, I would appreciate if you could check in with me first before calling to unload. Sometimes I just don't have capacity in that moment. I am prioritizing my own energy, and I hope you understand. Why this works? Because it's clear, you're not over-explaining, it affirms care without sacrifice, and it shows emotional maturity and self-respect. So the third one is at work. And scenario here is that your boss or your coworker message you after hours expecting for a quick reply, even though you're not on a clock anymore. So here's a boundary you can set. Hey, I saw your message coming through. I've been working on keeping my evenings work free to recharge and be fully focused during work hours. I will get to this first thing in the morning. Why this works? It holds a boundary without over-explaining and over-apologizing. And it also trains others to respect your availability. Another 4 and the last one is with family. And I understand family can be one of the most hardest place to set boundaries, especially with our parents. We feel because they're our parents, we shouldn't be able to tell them how to treat us, which is completely lie. As children, we weren't able to do that because we didn't have the knowledge and the know-how. But as an adult, it is your responsibility to teach other people how to treat you, even your parents. So don't feel like this is the place where you can't set boundaries. You absolutely can, and you absolutely have to. So here's a scenario that I think is pretty common. Your parent makes a critical comment about your appearance or your life choices every time you go to visit. And here's a healthy boundary you can set. I know you care about me, but when you make comments about how I look or the choices that I make, it really hurts. It makes me feel judged and not loved. I'm asking you to please stop commenting on those things. If it happens again, I am going to need to make some space or leave this conversation. Why it works? It is clear, it's direct, and it includes a consequence if the boundary is not respected. And that leads me to how to deal with people who don't respect your boundaries. And the answer is remove them from your life. I know this sounds harsh and you probably don't want to hear it, but these people, by overstepping your boundaries, they are showing you that they are not respecting you. Do you want to have people in your life who don't respect you? No. So by removing them, you are creating space in your life for allowing people to come in who are going to respect your boundaries and therefore respect you. And if you let someone to constantly overstep your boundaries, this just shows that you have low self-respect. And if you don't respect yourself, you're never gonna uphold other people to respect you. So this really comes down to you starting to respect yourself. And if you're someone who is afraid to set boundaries because you're afraid to upset people, or you're afraid that people are gonna leave, just know that people who get upset about you setting boundaries are the people who directly benefit from you not having any. And they're not in your life for the right reason. These are the people that you should look out for. And I know that you might not see it like this right now, but if you lose people after setting boundaries, it is a good thing. As I said, it will create space for new, better things to come into your life. At the end, I just want to say that we are conditioned to believe that by setting ourselves first, we are being selfish. And I want you to know that this is not true. This is your responsibility as a human being in this life to set yourself first, to respect yourself enough to take care of your own needs. Every single person is taking care of their own needs. You don't have to set anyone else above your own. Thank you so much for joining me today for this Boundary 101 video. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with a friend, leave me a thumbs up, and leave me a comment. Please be honest with me and let me know, did any of these 7 signs about being a people pleaser, did you recognize yourself? Let's chat in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one next week. Bye!